Okay, cool. We are live. This is Richie Concertesi with Seven Figure Commissions, where we bring on agency owners that want to get to the next level, that are already moving the needle, but truly want to get to the next level and improve their business, improve their life, and move forward. So Alex is from Farmers. He's been doing this for 2 years, but he's been an agency owner for just a few months, and already has how many agents do you have, Alex?
So I have 2 licensed and one's working on their license right now. So
Got it. So 2 licensed, 1 recruited, working on the license, and he's moving forward from here. So Alex, thanks so much for being on the show.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And what made me so excited about interviewing and having Alex on the show today is that we're both 5'7", small football players that just love the game. So cool, man. Well, let's talk about you. You've been in insurance for 2 years. You're in a leadership role now and building your agency. Let's just jump into it, man. What do you feel like as an agency owner is your biggest challenge right now?
Oh, I could probably make a list of multiple things. I think right now the biggest challenge, and I think this isn't just unique to farmers, but to any agent, is insurance is going through a weird time where a lot of the rates and rules are being changed. A lot to do with inflation, but also just the natural disasters we've had nationwide or even worldwide. So the biggest challenge is really keeping people around right now. Is they get the renewals and the rates go up. I can't control that. I can, so I don't control the rates, and that's a big challenge. Another big challenge I think you run into as an agency owner is time blocking. I didn't realize how hard that would be stepping into this position. So.
Got it. Now, when you say time blocking, is this more specifically for the leadership side or the things that, are you still selling? Like when you say time blocking, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So I'm still selling.
Okay.
And so it's really hard to have a consistent production level when you don't get into a rhythm of things, when you're constantly interrupted. And so I tried to set a certain time every single day to just be in sales mode only. But being an agency owner, that runs into challenges because you get people who call in or stop in the office, and house starts on fire, car accident, stuff like that. It can really pull away. So that's really hard. I need to be better at that. Have time for service related things, maybe do some more training with some of the staff so they can handle more of the service and claim side. That way I can really focus on my production when I need to. So.
Nice. Okay. Now, do you want to get in a position, Alex, where you're no longer producing and you're just leading a team of agents? Like how do you see this being built out? What's the vision for you?
Yeah. Eventually I would love to be in that position where I'm just solely managing or even have someone managing for me, and I can spend my time doing other things. I have a lot of goals of different businesses I want to start and really grow on. But as of right now, this is my sole purpose. And so really my goal is to grow this business and have enough agents under me to the point where I don't have to worry about it. I can step away and focus on other things. But
I love it. Okay, so you want to build an agency with lots of insurance agents with leadership in place, and you're kind of calling the shots, basically making the decisions.
Yeah, I always want to be growing. I think a lot of agents in this industry will grow to a certain size, and then they will just kind of step away and just manage and stop growing. And I think that's where it gets dangerous. So I want to have a team consistently, as long as I'm the agent here, that grows the book. So.
Got it. Okay. Now, as far as growth right now, do you feel like the biggest hindrance is time, like you said, the blocking or the management of that time with, training, coaching, building up your current sales agents, but also selling yourself, and on top of that, servicing clients? Like this is kind of what we're looking at right now.
Yeah. And I wasn't prepared from that before I became an agency owner. Just a little background, if you.
Yeah.
Sure. I basically was an office manager for another agent for his agency in the Salt Lake area.
Okay.
And they were the fastest growing agency in the state of Utah. So, and he just made President's Council, which is the top 1% of farmers. Really good agent to learn from. But he did a really good job at making sure the sales guys only had to focus on sales. And so that's what I was really used to. When I stepped into being an agency owner, you deal with a lot more issues and problems, and I mean payroll, and then also the issues that the book brings in. And so I wasn't prepared for that. That was one thing I wish I was more prepared for. And so the last couple of months been trying to figure out a good balance, as well as recruiting, because I want to be able to have at least 3 to 4 agents selling at all time. So
okay. And so what do you feel like you haven't been able to bring over from what you were doing before to what you're doing now? Like, which aspect of it?
Definitely. I mean, production numbers are lower, but I think that's mostly because I have less salespeople. So what I wasn't able to bring over, I'd say over there, he had a sales manager, and he was really good at training all the new sales agents. And so that's been hard for me to try to find time to train agents on how to sell.
I see.
He was much better at selling than I am. I was not very good. I'm a very average when it comes to production, but so that's hard to bring that over is finding time to teach the agents how to sell.
Got it. Okay. Because you also have service, you've got to sell yourself, but now also not only do you have to hire, recruit, and retain sales reps, but you have to train them, coach them, hold them accountable, keep production, track their performance. Gotcha. So how have you been able to do that to this point when it comes with your team's performance?
So it's been a challenge. Haven't been the best at doing it. Basically what my day looks like and how I try to manage this is I get up in the mornings pretty early, check emails, try to get ahead on the service things that might have happened overnight. And I'll check my emails frequently throughout the morning until I come into the office. And I have one of my employees that handles most of the service. So that's really nice.
Is that one of your salespeople or someone else?
No, someone else. So I have a customer service rep.
Oh, okay. So they're handling a lot of you're just managing them of the handling of the service.
Yep. And so there's some things they can't handle and some questions that come up and like, hey, what happens when in this scenario? Or sometimes people just like to stop in and they want to visit the agent, the person, the name on the door rather than talk to someone else. And so in those scenarios, that's the most frustrating part. Just because you can't really plan for that. People just stop in and just say, and that might be standing in the foyer and it's really hard to get out of it at that point.
Right.
They already see you. So, but anyways, I've been trying to train them and make sure they can handle most of the customer service part. So I can kind of step away from that. And that's been a challenge because I realize I'm a little OCD. And so sometimes when I'll overhear a phone call and I'll be like checking to make sure they do things right. And I need to get away from that.
Listen, I know exactly how that is, just so you know, because I'm very similar in that way. And to be honest, it's held me back quite a bit in certain times.
Yeah. And I see that all the time. And I don't like to micromanage. So I try to stay away from that. But yeah, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I want to make sure they did this right. Or, and I just need to step away from that. That's been a new challenge I didn't know I'd be dealing with. But
you learn a lot about yourself when you go out on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked to my previous employer, the other agent, and he said he reiterates, he's like, you just got to let those things happen. They'll take care of themselves. Just make sure that the training's right. If issues arise, then deal with them. But he often says there's no reason spending an hour to fix a $12 problem because you're making more than $12 an hour. You're wasting money by focusing on things that aren't important. So
yeah,
that's been a challenge. But the goal is to make sure they can handle pretty much all, if not most of the customer service side. And then now I'm working on training the sales side so they can work on their production and delegating. Delegating is really the way I've been trying to handle all the different challenges I'm dealing with. But
Okay. Now, how are you said, sales is something that you're working on too. We'll talk about your agents in a second, but for you, how do you feel like, where do you feel like you fall as far as your sales
right
closing
now,
rate right now? Yeah.
it's been terrible right now.
Okay. And is
And
it because if you were solely focused on selling, Alex, would your close rate be really good, or would it still not be good?
I think I'm more of like a middle of the pack type
Okay.
as far as it. So when I was in the other office, I would average probably two to three closes a week of a household, which was like I said, his average pack wasn't one a day. It was one every other day type of a thing.
Okay.
Right now, I'm getting maybe one a week, and then that's mostly due to the interruption that I get,
Right.
and I
Okay.
forget to follow up and make as many phone calls as I'd like and stuff like that. So
Got it. Totally get it. Okay, cool. Now, as far as your team goes and the production of your team, you know, where do you feel like they're falling short the most right now?
I think they probably fall let's see. That's a good question. That's sometimes
It's a
and
tough question too.
this is where I need to be
What do you
better
feel like is your
managing.
biggest huh?
This is where I need to be better at managing and making sure that I'm following up with their goals and stuff like that. But
Okay, well let's take a step back. Are
yeah.
you do you have a process right now for tracking their analytics, their KPIs?
Yeah. So I have a software that we pay for that manages it all, and I can go in and view it all. But
Okay.
I also we have a standard, it is every single day you need to be making, these are minimums, of course. I'd love to see more, but this is like, if you put in this much, then I know that you at least put in some effort today and tried, but I want them to be making either 100 phone calls a day, doing 10 quotes, or writing 2 policies that day. A
Okay.
combination of those 3, or at least one of those 3 need to be done every single day. So
Okay. Now, where do they fall along as far as hitting those minimums?
they're pretty consistent at hitting them. And so I think the biggest challenge that they probably run into is they'll spend too much time either quoting or it's really coming down to the closing. So I think a lot of times they'll hit the quoting or the calling, but being a little bit more hesitant on the closing part is where we need to focus. So
Okay. Now, is it okay if I dive in with you a little bit
yeah,
from a leadership perspective?
absolutely. That's what I look forward to in this interview.
Okay, cool. So from you and working with them and coaching them, what do you feel like you can do right now to help them improve what they're doing to close?
I think I could sit in more of their phone calls,
Okay.
and
And what
listen.
makes you think that listening to the phone calls would help?
I think I can pinpoint where they're being hesitant, where they're not closing. I think I've been in other sales jobs, and a lot of people will get in this habit where they kind of just throw it out there and they just kind of wait for a response, and they're not progressive in the closing process. And almost every single time, the person's going to say, "Oh, I'll think about it," or "I think I'm okay." But if you just keep going, in the closing process, then they'll go along with it. Most people just don't like change, and so they don't make the choice themselves. And if you leave it up to them, they just won't.
Right. So in your sales process, you mentioned something there that's really important is they're falling. You want to listen to the call so you know where they're falling short, right? Or where they're not making it as far as they could in the phone call itself.
Yeah.
So are you currently tracking the different stages of your call and then where they're actually falling within that call itself?
I'm not, but that is actually a really good idea. That's something I could implement for sure.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because your time is a thing right now, right? And so listening to a lot of calls is and they're having 10 connects a day, you said roughly?
Yeah, well, 10 at least quotes. I want them to be able to quote someone, at least send it to them, and hopefully get them on the phone before you send it to them. But
Okay.
yes, yeah,
So we would have to dive into the semantics of the entire sales process and all that. But
right,
that's a lot of connects. That's a lot of phone calls to listen to. And I'm
yeah,
not saying don't listen to phone calls because you should.
right,
But what I found to be the best way is if you're tracking how far they're getting, or things like, we talk about temp checks, which is like after you've given the presentation, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you feel like this, fits your current, will solve your problem or fit your current need? And if you're getting a bunch of sixes, we know it's the presentation, right? If you're getting a bunch of nines and tens, now, okay, good. We know the presentation's good, the offer's good. So if we could, kind of open up your call and track all the different stages of it, it'll make your life easier in saying, okay, where's this rep falling short? Now we can fix the script or what they're saying or their tonality, or, you can coach them to a clear destination without just like listening to a 45-minute call, for example.
that makes sense. That makes sense, and I hope you don't mind. I'm just taking some notes as
No. It's the point. Perfect. Well,
so
so let's real quick, because this is a good call. It's kind of a shorter one. But there's really three things that make up a play, right? So in every session, just like your team has to leave your coaching sessions with them with the next play, every time we connect, it would be, you got to leave with the next play, right? And so it has to consist of three things. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And when are you going to do it by, right? Fairly simple, but you've got to have those three. So if you were to say from this session, I want to be a better leader for my sales team, what do you feel like is a good next play from here, right? Because there's a laundry list of things, but if we were to just dial, what's the first thing we've got to put in place here? What do you feel like that would be?
I think the next play for my sales team would be having a meeting this week, a sales meeting. Probably, I'd have to look at my schedule, and going over essentially the sales process, like of a phone call, and then I probably make a sheet. That way, when they're making their calls and they're on the phone call, they can mark how far they're getting on the phone call and seeing where they're getting hung up. Whether it's you get hung up at the price and then you lose them, or you getting right from the bat, they don't want to talk to you. Just make kind of.
You're right. If your hook sucks, if your discovery sucks, if the offer sucks, all the different.
Right. Sorry, I need to just turn the volume down on this guy right here. Yeah, and I think that'd be a really easy sheet to make. It's like, where are you getting stuck, and then we can review them on one-on-ones. That'd be so. My what would be, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about the sales process this week, and then let's make a sheet and have you track where you're getting stuck on your sales call,
Okay.
and then do follow-ups either weekly or the other week. So
now the how, right, and how you run this meeting, Alex, is everything, right? The way you buy-in is key, right? Especially if there's going to be additional tracking and stuff like that, right?
right.
So how do you feel like you can position this as an opportunity for your sales team versus another, activity to do?
Right. I mean, I think a lot of salespeople, they love the incentives. They love the competition and the atmosphere of, reaching certain incentives. And so maybe that's something that I put an incentive on it to do this, to track it, and whoever can get so far the most amount of times, or maybe make it a competition, put them on teams, and something like that. I that's where I'm driven. I love to compete, and so that's why I love sales. Is it's fun to compete against other people. So,
do you feel like your team is the same way? Like they love to compete?
yeah, most of them are. We have similar personalities, I'd say. So
Nice. Cool. I
and
love
so
that. Okay, cool. Do you feel like you have a really strong grasp on what each salesperson on your team, excuse me, wants to achieve in their life? Like, what is if I'm a sales rep on your team, do you know like my reason for doing better or selling more or making more? Do you feel like you've got a concrete reason for each one of them?
I think I have a concrete reason for one of them, but that's maybe something I should find more information about. The other two, I just kind of stepped in. I'm still trying to get to know them.
Got it.
But for one of them, the one I just hired, I've been in a manager for him at another sales job before, and I've known him for quite some time. So I think I have a concrete there, but elsewhere, I should definitely find that, because if people don't have a why, they're never going to be able to, when things get hard, they're just going to be okay being mediocre. So
Right. And here's the thing, big thing, and you hit the nail on the head there, dude. And you're far along, man. I love that. One thing I've learned from just the two sales teams that I've had and have is that if they not only know what it is, but they know that you know it and that you believe your job is to do everything in your power to help them achieve it, then it changes the entire culture and dynamic of the office and the way they view you
I'd
as a
agree with
leader.
that. Yeah.
And just because, we work with large corporate clients and small businesses, I see it over and over where because you're so busy, because you have so many different things going on every day, it's hard. It's hard to stay on top of like, what are my sales teams, what is it that they want in their life? Am I doing everything in my power to help them get there? But when they know that and that you believe that that's your job as a sales leader, man, it changes the way that they look at you and the way that they do the activities in front of them. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
Because
Yeah.
they do it for them. Don't get me wrong, right? But when they know they have a leader that's going to do everything in their power to get them there, changes the dynamic.
Oh, I'd agree. I mean, I've had managers where it's like, hey, you got to hit your goals. And that's so frustrating, because I'm like, I know I got to hit my goals. I'm trying to hit my goals. Like, stop telling me I need to hit my goals. Like, help me hit my goals. And do you even know why I want to hit these numbers?
Right. Do you know why? And here's the other thing, man. And obviously we're going a lot on this call, but like, and they've got to make a commitment, right? A commitment to you, a commitment to themselves, a commitment to the team. And I think that's a little bit, like I said, one play at a time.
Right.
But as far as buy-in goes, man, one thing that if you want, I can share with you a quick thing that you could do in this group that will
I would love to.
Yeah, so I love it, man. We're going to do this group session, have a group sales session where the objective is that, hey, we're going to implement a little bit more tracking to help them, right? Now we have to organize this meeting so that they leave empowered, right? And so one thing that you could start this off by is just having everyone go around and share why it's important to them that they close more. And it could be and framing it like this could be monetary, it could be whatever. It could be, achievement, it could be reward, it could be status, like just, I'm just really curious. And as a team, we all want to work together and just make it about the team, right? The team. And so have them go around and share and then say, okay, well, look, we're all kind of falling short, including myself, in different areas. And so I wanted to share a concept with you that will allow us to see where we're all falling short. And so the simplest way to do that is for us to track where we currently are getting on our calls. And then boom, what do you all think about that? And 99.9, you went around the room and talked about what they're trying to do, 99 will be like, oh, because if we track, then we'll know where we're falling short and we can make adjustments and etc. And they should be excited about that.
That makes me excited just like talking to you about it. I'm like,
Oh, cool. Yeah,
I want to go start tracking where I'm falling short because, and
that's okay.
yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. That is, I'm going to do that.
Cool. All right. And when do you feel like, so that's the what, the how, and what do you feel like is a good when? When are you going to knock
Well,
this out by?
I want to do it this week ASAP. So, one of my salespeople will be out tomorrow, so I probably do it Wednesday. I got Wednesday morning open, and I'll call in a sales meeting and let's do it
Let's
Wednesday morning.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Cool. So you feel good about it?
Yeah, I feel really good about that. That'd help a ton. That'd take a lot of stress off of me too, because I don't know, the more fired up your sales team are, less pressure on, to they get fired up, they sell better, a little bit less pressure on the agent and making sure goals are getting hit. So
Yeah, because you said something that's really powerful, and I know there's a lot of for the people that are watching that could be going through and feeling the same way. Is like when you have somebody that's just like goals, hit your numbers, hit your metrics. It's like, whoa, like, but if you have somebody that's like, hey, I'm going to work with you on your metrics and I'm going to coach you to find ways to improve and help you get there, is a way different demeanor, right?
right. No,
Cool.
that makes sense. I mean, I remember feeling so frustrated one time when, they're like, oh, you have to hit it. You have to hit it this week. You're short. You have to hit this number this week. And I'm like, I know, like I want to hit it. It's not like I'm not trying to hit it.
Right.
He's like, I got a car payment to pay. I know I have to hit that number.
Right.
But you telling me I have to hit it isn't helping me. Like, let's talk about, a plan, the next play.
Right.
So.
And the problem is a lot of managers don't have metrics tracked. They don't have, like, they're not coaches. They're not, it's unfortunate, but
right.
Cool. All right. So you feel good?
I feel good. I feel great about that.
All right. Awesome. Well, Alex, I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. And I think we've got a good, solid first step or next play for you moving forward. And for everyone else watching, thank you so much for watching an episode of 7-Figure Commissions, where we work directly with agency owners, sales reps to improve their game, to constantly find ways to stay focused and to have a next play and to do the same with their team. So thank you all so much for being on the show. Alex, for you as well. Been a pleasure having you, man.
Thank you.